Travis Wayne Goodsell. It's been a long time, but we get to do a Jasmine comment reply video. James and Jasmine let themselves be known to me back in December last year. They had been approached by the missionaries, and missionaries were abusing them, and I've been helping to explain why the Mormon missionaries are so abusive, calling James a fence sitter in the premortal council in heaven, and warning Jasmine that she'll have to leave James to become a polygamous wife to the leader of the church in the millennium, which, you know, we're, 15 days late. What's up with that, Nelson? Why hasn't Jesus smoten you down for your failures? And so, Jasmine this year has been abandoning me. She's been cheating on me with Antichrist, anti-Mormon sites, and rather than coming to me first, and she's also cheating on me with other girls that she's going to be having a slumber party with and a pillow fight, and she's not going to make a video of it for me, at least. So, an hour ago, on Latter Days Are Over and Done, yet LDS Church is keeping the full name of the church. There's no reason to have Latter-day Saints if it's no longer the Latter Days. You should be changing it, at least to the Millennial Saints. That's what I did for you. The church still won't do it. It's hilarious. A BYU student realized that there was no, was it TikTok or Twitter, channel name for BYU. So she took it before BYU could get it. Hilarious. And there's history precedents for this. In 1887, the United States of America shut down the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as a criminal financial operation. Their tithing of Section 119 was creating even worse crimes with everything they were doing. For example, polygamy became sex trafficking with Section 119. And so the name was fair game for anybody to take it. Now that the church had been shut down, could no longer use the name. And so in the 1920, there's a group of apostate anti-Mormon, antichrist choir whores who are fed up with the incompetence of the church. I believe it was Heber J. Grant. Yeah, Heber J. Grant was now the president. And I think Warren Jeff's group had left earlier that century. But I guess they didn't really get going until later on, but regardless. Yeah, there were plenty of opportunities for apostate anti-Mormon, antichrist choir whores to steal the name and take it from Heber J. Grant. And so, because they didn't, Heber J. Grant in November of 1923 was finally able to reincorporate the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, except that that's not the name of his church. It's what we always call it, because that's what it always was, because the church was in denial for Mormons that the United States shut them down and disincorporated them. And thus why the ex-foes didn't realize that they could take the name legally and steal it out from under the church. And so, yeah, it's technically the corporation of the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's not a religion, it's a business entity. And so D. Michael Quinn's, the quadrilogy, I think it is, of Mormon hierarchy, that series, yeah, that's all about the corporation. This is not a religion. They claim religion, just like Tony Soprano of The Sopranos. Was it Showtime or HBO? Woke up this morning, I got myself a bed. Seriously, there used to be stuff off to the right that would tell me instantly. HBO. Yeah. It's not porn, it's HBO. Not for the Christian-hearted. So Tony Soprano used sanitation as his cover for his criminal operation, exactly the same as Section 119 of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Okay, so good morning, Mr. Goodsell. LOL. How was that funny? Just some morning humor for you. I don't get it. Is it because you didn't say Travis? It went back to Mr. Goodsell from the beginning origins in December. Good morning, Travis. I was looking at the fair. Oh man, now she's cheating on me with Mormon apostates. I mean, Mormon apologists. Same thing. Jasmine, why? After all I've done for you. I know, so don't scold me. Too late. Jasmine wants to be spanked, I guess, to see what they have to say about Richard's name change. Really? Okay. Interesting. Yeah, in case those of you who have been living under a rock your whole life, Joseph Smith in 1838 history called his name the Church of the Latter-day Saints, as it was changed in 1834. In the priesthood meeting, Sidney Rigdon raised his hand and said, I propose a name change to the Church of the Latter-day Saints. Joseph Smith said, all in favor. It was unanimous. Name change complete. Originally, it was the Church of Christ. Jasmine knows all this. She's smarter than you Mormons. And so, you'll notice in your canon version of the 1838 history, because you didn't bother to go to the Joseph Smith papers like Jasmine did, it says, when you click on the little note for Jesus Christ, that it was inserted by Willard Richards. That's what Jasmine's referring to here. And so she continues, they are going with the section. section 115, verse 4, that Joseph Smith was given a revelation for the name change in 1838 that you mentioned. Yeah. And Nelson got up at the pulpit of conference and said, and he gave a little smug at the camera, I showed you, Travis. It means section 115 is a forged document because it was put in the Doctrine and Covenants in 1876 of Brigham Young's. It did not exist. It was created by Brigham Young to be purposely put in, and blaming Joseph for it. I know these apologetic sites know of the Joseph Smith papers, so why do they deny things that can be proven false? Oh, you're so cute, Jasmine. Why are you not in more contact with me? I have had to cut off the connections to my heart to save me from my feelings over you, Jasmine. I'm sad. So, I've already talked about this in other ways. One is that the prophets are the ones who promoted the Joseph Smith papers. They said very clearly, this is the authorized source for all things Joseph Smith, which tells us instantly that our printed canon of Scripture that we've had our whole lives is now obsolete. Just like the Joseph Smith history, the 7-volume set with the index, the church canceled it because of the Joseph Smith papers. But they never made any of the changes necessary in any of our canonized works, nor are they putting in those scriptures that need to be put in, nor are they removing the scriptures that have no original source to Joseph, i.e., forged document. And the reason for this is because the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints claims to be a true succession and thus authority from Joseph Smith. Nobody else, just Brigham. And so for the church to actually go through and do all the necessary changes, corrections, and additions and subtractions necessary would show that this church has been lying to us the whole time, which they've already confessed to, but Mormons still are sticking to them like a domestic violence marriage. And so the other thing is that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints does not actually expect Mormons to go to the Joseph Smith papers. I did, and the church punished me. I went in to learn Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian, had to decipher them, and found Joseph Smith to be correct, and the church punished me for it. They must maintain the outward appearance illusion that we're supposed to be Christian, and that Brigham Young is the true authorized successor, the only one, and has all the keys of the wrong guy. Peter rather than Moses. And it's just for title, not for accomplishments. And so I've told about the convert to the church, Avraham Gileadi, who was at the Jewish library, Jerusalem library, and the librarian recommended to him the Book of Mormon because it says in 1 Nephi chapter 1 verse 2, it's in the learning of the Jews. There are other people outside of Mormonism who know how to read and comprehend what they read, as long as they read. That one person running for the U.S. Senate, I believe it was, for this election in Missouri, that I did the video of yesterday, they never bothered to read the Book of Mormon. And it was clear when she spoke about it that she's never read the Book of Mormon, because the church's lies are what she was perpetuating. And CNN likewise, and anybody who does reports on the church and documentaries on the church, they all get it wrong about Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon, because they will not read. They're supposed to read. The whole purpose of the Book of Mormon is to read it. And yet, the missionaries, even to James and Jasmine, told James and Jasmine, no, don't read and study. Pray and get the right feeling. And then we'll set a date for your baptism. So James and Jasmine are outcasts. And so that's why. Because apologists do not want to get, well, I didn't finish with Avraham, did I? So Avraham liked what he read in the Book of Mormon. It's all about the Jews. He's been studying the Jews because of the World War II and the Holocaust. He wanted to know about the Jews and about the people and about the language. He learned the language. And so he got baptized out in Jerusalem in the waters of Shalom, and moved to Utah and went to BYU and graduated, became a doctor and all that. And when the church was doing the footnoting back in '79 for the Bible, he was the one in charge of putting in the HEBs in the Old Testament. And if you see an IE or an OR, it means the church said, no, we're not going to accept this. And thus Nelson botched the definition of Israel with the white supremacist definition instead. Because the Jews don't read, especially Hebrew. Or not the Jews, white supremacists don't read. Associative memory. I'm going by visions in my head rather than I make those mistakes. And so he got himself a Mormon wife, got sealed in the temple, covenant path. This was back when you had the penalties to kill yourself for violation. And he went and wrote a book about the latter days, and thus about the Jewish Christ. Oops. The church had had enough of him, and he became part of September 6 in 1993. 6 Mormons working for the church, involved in history of the church, got fired and excommunicated. Avraham, because of his wife and family and job and thus financial status and Mormon status, panicked. He's going to lose it all. He's not going to be able to take care of his family. His wife may want to leave him because he's now an antichrist, anti-Mormon Korah. His life could be ruined. And so he came back, crawling on his hands and knees. There must be some mistake. What have I done wrong? I don't understand. And so he conformed and complied, and he now betrays the Jews. He didn't learn anything from World War II. This is what all apologists for the church are under in bondage. All Mormons are in bondage to this church. It doesn't matter if you read Jew. You have to put in Christian. It doesn't matter if you see Messiah ben Joseph and Messiah ben David. It's all Jesus. And so, are you going to lose your honor and integrity, Mormons? Yeah, you have. You have caved to the threats of the church. When anybody who reads knows very clearly this church is not supposed to be Christian. And so that's why apologists deny the blatantly obvious. This is why when you're debating them, they take you down rabbit holes, diverting you away. There's a Fox News anchor. I saw it just this morning. She's on her tirade about Biden's distraction. And she's distracting her audience with Biden's distraction, which there is no distraction. She's making that the distraction for her audience, away from Trump. Oh my God. Exactly what Mormon apologists do. They will not answer the subject of the debate. They can't. So they go off on tangents. They go off on fallacies. Anything to take the discussion away from the topic that's supposed to be discussed. Like I keep saying, learning of the Jews. And Mormon apologists and Mormons alike all try to distract me away from the issue that the Book of Mormon is Jewish, not Christian. You cannot win. And so, Jasmine says, at first she fell for the apologetics, but after reading countless documents and books, have realized how much they have done to Joseph Smith. Yeah, they've taken it away. This church betrayed Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon. And it's blatantly obvious. And so Mormons who stay in this church are guilty. And it doesn't matter if they're not saying anything and they're just being fence sitters on the issue. For Mormons to not even bother to try to learn about their religion, about their history, that makes them stupid. Why are you a part of something that you have no interest in learning about? And so, yeah, Mormons have blood on their hands. The blood of Joseph Smith and Hiram. When you betray them like that. And so, yeah, it's easy to fall for their diversionary tactics. But once you realize that that's what they're doing, and that they're not answering the question, then you can put them in their place. But no exfo nevermos seem to understand this. They play along with their little distraction games. And yeah, it's funny, because Kwaku tried to pull it when he was being debated about concerning Brigham Young as a racist. Kwaku started to say that Troy in the Iliad and the Odyssey was just a fictionary tale. Troy isn't real. Which apparently Kwaku missed the news story and the movie with Brad Pitt. As a result, they found Troy. It does exist. It's real. It's an archaeological site now. But Kwaku thought he had him and got him away from the topic matter. Nope. So, dear God. Constantine had a tablet and a Sharpie. That was a Trump joke. I almost peed on myself, Travis. Just like the three Jesuses. We're taking a pee. Missed the second coming. Oh, there's Jasmine. Yay! So, we'll see if we can add anything else. No pictures or videos, Jasmine. I miss Jasmine. She was so fun. Alright. So, on the same video. Good afternoon, Travis. I have another question. In the 1833 Book of Commandments, chapter 53, verse 23, it says, "Wherefore he is professor of all things, for all things are subject unto him, both in heaven and on earth, and the life and the light, the spirit and the power sent forth by the will of the Father through Jesus Christ his Son." What exactly does that mean, and why is Jesus stated to be the Son of the Father? Well, it's the same thing that the Jewish authors put Jesus as the Son of the Father. Remember? Jews, not Christian. To put in Christian interpretation, you are now pulling what's called an anachronism. Christianity was created in 325 CE. The scriptures of the New Testament that have the name Jesus in it were written before the creation of Christianity. And yet Christianity says that the Jewish scriptures are now literal history about a real character living in the Roman period time, who still, however, is homoousion, which means not real. And failed to save the Jews, as the Jews were utterly destroyed. And the Jewish author knew that because he wrote after the temple was destroyed. And so, which, yeah, I've got that video. Too many videos to do. And so, you need to understand what Joseph and the Book of Mormon intended to be for Mormons. You have a world that has been fooled by Constantine, replacing the Jews, Christianity and Islam. And you have converts who are coming into the church as Christian. And so they only have a Christian mindset. And so, yeah, they're supposed to read the Book of Mormon, not pray and get the right feeling and join the church. They're supposed to read. That when they read, it says right at the very beginning, it's the learning of the Jews, language of the Egyptians. You're now supposed to understand you cannot put in Christian interpretation. And so as you read through the Book of Mormon, you're going to see 1769 King James Version errors and all plagiarisms. But then you're going to also see in near context a correction of the translation errors. Mormons do not want to understand this. They don't want to comprehend it because it means the church has been lying to us and we're not supposed to be Christian, we're supposed to be Jewish. And it's not a good time to be a Jew these days. It's not safe. And so Mormons are ashamed of the gospel of the Jews of the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith. They are not willing to die by the hand of the enemy, threatening them to deny Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon as Jewish. Mormons immediately say, we're Christian. Oh, Islam? Yeah, we've got a pamphlet that says we're just like you. Don't kill us, we're just like you. Yeah, cowards all. And so I've done this before, and Jasmine obviously did not see those videos. When I was dating Kimberly, Jasmine has seen Kimberly. She saw the picture of Kimberly, so she knows Kimberly. And Kimberly left me arguing over charity, because Mormons believe that the Book of Mormon is literal history and therefore is direct translation from the Egyptian golden plates rather than gold, and so it is the literal word of God. No corrections needed, even though Brigham Young made corrections. Joseph Smith refused to allow any other addition during his lifetime. Nonetheless, and she believes, as the church teaches, that charity is the pure love of Christ. As another definition from the Greek, that it's some higher form of love, higher than agape in the Greeks, which is the highest form of love. All because Mormons believe the Book of Mormon is literal history and is the literal word of God as written by those ancients. And so plagiarism is proof of the truth of the Book of Mormon, says Kwaku. No. Because the one long list, charity is kind, envieth not, vaunteth not itself, and blah, 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 that comes from 1 Corinthians 13. Now, any girl who's watched a chick flick or a TV show drama, and there's a wedding involved, most often they'd have that read to them from the Bible. But they don't say charity. It says love. Well, that's wrong. Mormons cannot comprehend this, because this is how the Book of Mormon was specifically written, to try to transition converts thinking in terms of Christianity and helping lead them to an understanding of the learning of the Jews that had been lost because of Christianity. It's supposed to be agape, which is love. That's why that Mormon Moroni passage concludes with charity, which is the pure love of Christ. That's a correction of the Bible translation. It is not literal history by an ancient Nephite prophet. And so, yeah, Mormons will never understand and never comprehend and will never believe. And thus they're under condemnation for not reading the Book of Mormon and adhering to its precepts. And so what Jasmine is wanting to know then is, what is Joseph Smith referring to? And I would need the fuller context, Jasmine, because of the attack on... Oh, cool. That program's done. Because of the Valentine's Day morning massacre, malware massacre attack, I have to find it again in all my files. I had it in my saved files on my laptop from the device, and so I am without it at the moment. I can get it. It's going to take some time. I'd have to stop the video and find it and look it up and read it in its context, but we'll deal with what you put for us. Wherefore he, I'm assuming a general Mormon, is a possessor, not professor, I think I said earlier, possessor of all things. For all things are subject unto him. And you could be talking about Jesus here too. Both in heaven and in earth, the life and the light and the spirit and the power sent forth by the will of the Father through Jesus Christ his Son. Wait a minute. Yeah, that is kind of interesting, isn't it, Jasmine? Because it's through Jesus, and so he does seem to be a Mormon in that particular sense. A Mormon becoming perfect. The Egyptian temple rituals of washing and anointing to become Melchizedek. Melech, king, Zadok, high priest. That's what you're missing out, Jasmine, by not joining the church and having James pay for your prostitution price to be worthy to be sealed in the temple and receive the underwear. And the church denies the power of becoming a Christ, because the text still says, you now are Christ. You take upon yourself the name of Christ, making you the Christ. You're not a representative of Christ. You are the Christ now. This is the learning of the Jews, which comes from the Egyptians. And the church cannot allow that because they're Christian. And they refuse to change the text. Nonetheless, when a Mormon is endowed through the initiatories of the washing and anointings, they now are a Christ. And it's not a supernatural thing you're supposed to get from this. But yeah, you can see how Christians would look at that and go, I'm concerned only Jesus can do this. He's trying to bridge the gap of your Christian intellect into the Jewish mindset. And so the Christ is not Jesus, it's Emmanuel, who Joseph Smith says is the future Mormon to save Mormons who would listen to him, and Mormons didn't listen to him, and so Mormons are all about to die. We're just waiting because Jesus has failed the show. He was taking a piss. Maybe he peed on himself. has to change his transparent robe. That was a Star Trek episode I saw the other day, where the new engineering woman spilled her hot chocolate onto Captain Picard. And then Q showed up and magically made it disappear. As the Borg were introduced. And so, you need to understand the first vision where Heavenly Father and Jesus appears to Joseph Smith is not Heavenly Father and Jesus. It is the Father who is referred to in 2 Nephi chapter 3, of which both Messiah ben Joseph Smith Jr., well, it's Messiah ben Joseph of Egypt, thus of Senior. Senior is the Holy Grail, Messiah ben Joseph. And through Joseph Smith Sr. will come the two branches of the latter-day Mormonism concept of Christ. Messiah ben Joseph Jr. and Messiah ben David Emmanuel for the latter days through Hiram Smith. And so, technically what he's saying here is Zion. In Zion, you become a possessor of all things, and all things are subject unto you because of the particular economy in Zion. Anything you need, anything you want to help build Zion. It's up to you. So as Jasmine is involved in AI and music videos with AI and DJing, she's a DJ master champion, and Jasmine, quit denying it. You won. I even told you you were going to win, but that it was going to be rigged. And then that's exactly what happened, remember? And so, yeah, if James and Jasmine come to Zion, and we get to have Zion, James and Jasmine would be doing what they're doing right now, but they'd be doing it for a Mormon audience. They'd be making it available for all Mormons to view and access. James and Jasmine would not have to worry about getting paid, because as long as they are contributing to Zion, all they need to do is report to the storehouses. Remember Joseph of Egypt? Remember Malachi? Storehouses. They just say, we need these particular items, food, clothing, shelter, energy, fuel, transportation, whatever it is they need, they get, and it'll be green friendly. We always get people wanting to divert the attention away, to try to ruin it. No, everything will be green. The whole pyramid cities themselves will be like the ziggurats and the hanging gardens combined. Awesome. But and then anything they want. If they need another computer device to handle some other projects that they're working on, they get it. No questions asked. They're providing for the beauty and prosperity of Zion. They get whatever they need, whatever they want, just like any else of you. And so those who refuse to help beautify and prosper Zion, you are an enemy. You're trying to ruin it for everybody else. You're trying to milk the system, and that will ruin Zion. And thus, you get expelled. You have to go. You have no interest in building Zion. You have no interest in having all those in Zion prosper. Bye-bye. You're not interested. The exceptions, obviously, are children and the elderly and those who are disabled in some degree. However, because you get whatever you want and you're not beholden to an economy of any kind, a monetary system, doctors can now actually research how to cure and heal. They're not beholden to insurance companies or hospitals who say, I'm sorry, you're John Q. I don't care if you're Denzel Washington. We're not going to help you. Or we're going to provide you minimal symptom management rather than curing the causation. And so, yes, when in Zion, people will be free to intensify inventions, discoveries, cures, and prosperity that in our current state you didn't think would be possible for at least another 100 centuries. You know, Star Trek time frame. No. Monetary economy is destroying our world and is holding us back from being the best that we can be as humans. And it's causing problems that are being perpetuated and exaggerated to the extremes. And, you know, like the homeless crisis. The Supreme Court's now going to decide whether the homeless are allowed to have tent cities to live in. We shouldn't have gotten to this point if our government regulated business properly. We only have homeless because of the economy, and we have the problems with the economy because the government's not regulating the economy. The big corporations bribed our government leaders to back off and let them destroy our nation, rather than arresting the corporate leaders as terrorists and seditious conspirators against America. So, yeah, Musk, Bezos, the Google guy, all of those big corporations, big oil, big pharma, all of them, all need to be locked up in prison as traitors to America. Not just Musk for being a neo-Nazi. And so, that's what being a possessor of all things and all things are subject unto him means. Both in heaven and on earth. The life and the light. The spirit and the power. That's inspiration. Getting revelation on what to advance in technology and scientific advancement and the arts, of which James and Jasmine are a part of. Okay? And so that answers your question, doesn't it? So let's get to your email. And she's saying there's going to be no slumber party. Come on. What? You're having her get a hotel room, Jasmine, and you're not going to join her in the hotel room? That would be an awesome place to be. It has an indoor pool. Yeah. See, you're planning on going there, aren't you? And she's just going to say, well, I'm going to bed now, Jasmine. You might as well go home now. Really? You think she's going to do that? Come on, Jasmine. Bring your camera. When James is away, Jasmine will play. I don't care if James wants. Me! Send me the pictures and videos. And so apparently she is coming to keep Jasmine company and work on her slideshow portfolio. I was nice to Alyssa. Jasmine had introduced me to Alyssa Grenfeld. Is that her name? She's a new anti-Mormon, anti-Christ whore, doing videos. She'd been focusing on her temple experiences, the underwear, and her mission. And yesterday I saw that she had done a video 2 days ago. Yeah, Grenfell. Alyssa Grenfell. The Wild Story of Joseph Smith, founder of Mormonism. And I saw her holding up the No Man Knows My History by Fawn Brodie. And so she's only been doing this for 5 months. And so I was impressed with her, and she was staying away from church history, as other exfo never mows, unauthorized, unqualified, end up repeating the same lies of the diversionary tactics of the Mormons. Going down the rabbit holes, and oops, you fell for it, as did Fawn Brodie. And so I had to jump in and make a comment on her channel. I don't do that. I was watching her videos because interesting content, interesting point of view from a modern Mormon who left the church, and what she experienced in the temple and wearing underwear and her mission. And so for her to then say she found Fawn Brodie's book and is now reading through it and wondering if it's true or not, I had to step in. She's going down the rabbit hole away from the core that she originally left the church for. And so I merely pointed out Joseph Smith Papers, exactly what Jasmine's been doing, and tried to help her understand that if she really wants to know about the origin of Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon, she needs to go to authoritative sources, and the Joseph Smith Papers are the only one that's authoritative. And so I hope she takes it under consideration. I hope she doesn't ignore me or block me from her channel. I tried to be as kind as I could, but Jasmine was the one who recommended her to me to set me up. And I made the comment that she's too young. And so Jasmine had sent me some Sylvia and said she may be too young for you. Jasmine, that's a different subject matter. This is art. Women, they hear what they only want to hear. And so, yeah, she does seem like a nice lady. That's why I've been following her. And so then she's talking about how James is the best, and she has a favorite chair that she sits in. Let's see, the dog's chewing on the arm. Why are you livid over the dog chewing on the arm, Jasmine? You knew they were dogs when you got them. It's like if you chose to have a baby, you know that the baby's gonna get into trouble. That you gotta make your home baby-proof. Jasmine. And so, wow, you got a new one. Cool. She said, here's something that we can talk about. She read the Pratt document and was just confounded. I was explaining to the convert how I have this thing about my hubby having more than one, Pratt talking about polygamy. Let's see if we can find it, because it's kind of sad. It's another tale of a Mormon who got suckered into the lies about the church, and he went with Brigham Young rather than Sidney Rigdon. Parley P. Pratt was a member of Sidney Rigdon's congregation, but when it all was said and done and Joseph is gone, Parley P. Pratt went with Brigham Young, not Sidney Rigdon. Parley P. Pratt betrayed Sidney Rigdon. That's the sad story of Parley P. Pratt. Don't want an autobiography. Want his books. Materiality and early Mormon theology. A voice of warning and instruction to all people. Let's put in books. Okay. Key to the Science of Theology. Yeah. I had that book. It's unclear as to whether or not my files have the original. Oh my God. There we go. Is there anything else? Apparently that was it. That's all I'm saying here. Dialogue between theology and science. That's now we're getting into Christian stuff. So that must be what you're talking about then, is the key to the science of theology of Parley P. Pratt. James is even more Jasmine does not like polygamy. When the missionaries talked about polygamy will be practiced in the millennium, and it's supposed to be the millennium, but Jesus was out taking a piss, and he pissed on himself, had to change his sheer robe into another sheer robe. I guess he's having laundry day problems. So he missed his second coming. So we're waiting for him to make his appearance, but I guess he's kind of embarrassed and humiliated. He's kind of in hiding. And so any day now we should have the millennium. It'll be late. Just hang on, it's coming. And so James does not like polygamy, and she's telling this to the convert next door. And so James is even more uncaring about having more than one wife. He really does not want anybody else but Jasmine, and I don't blame him. And so Jasmine is now asking me the wife marriage trap question. Shame on you, Jasmine. Shame. There is no right answer. And I can't appeal to Jennifer Lopez's butt. When your wife asks you if an outfit looks good on her, you're supposed to say, "You look as hot as Jennifer Lopez, dear." I cannot answer that here. Would you have more than one wife? I have none. I just want one. But I am deeply concerned with what the church is pulling, because the church is bringing back polygamy. All Mormons know it, and yet they're in denial that Nelson changed the law of chastity for polygamy, and Mormons are not being obedient to it. They're ashamed of Nelson's gospel, not just the Jewish gospel of the Book of Mormon and Joseph. But what the church is doing is setting things up for a major extermination event of mankind. And with an extermination event, you have the greater urgency to perpetuate the human race. And the fastest way to perpetuate the human race is to have more women than men. Because we're not as advanced as those on Krypton. I'm so disappointed that they thought nobody cared about their show anymore. Oh my hell. Pittsburgh was under attack. We're all watching the news. Oh my God, come on, guys. I really love that show. But nonetheless, notwithstanding. And so, I am a guy. And Jasmine and all women are not taught proper sex ed, the scientific process, as religion and psychology are screwing everybody up. They are all anti-science. Both psychology and religion are anti-science, and so anything they teach you is anti-science. They are a threat to our education. And so women don't understand that men have their time of the month every 7 seconds. But women don't understand that if they understood that, and if they wanted to be the woman, then they need to be there and be the woman. But in our society, just like the economy, with not teaching correct sex ed, it results in many problems. And that's why divorce in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is in the high 80 percentile. And if the church were to come out and tell us the stats and say, well, it's in the 40s, maybe, low 50 or upper 50s, but they're not factoring in those who were divorced but are now remarried. I count them. That's why it's up to the 80s, and I'm just making an educated guess. The majority of Mormons have had divorce. Now, there are a whole ton of Mormons that are remaining single, as Oakes pointed out and chastised 16-year-old girls for not getting married right away, for desiring to get an education and a career and mission. They need to be breeding at 16. And showed the charts. Girls need to get married now. Polygamy now. And so there's a difference when a guy needs to let go. To be as vague as I can be. And at that time, that's when the signals are sent to the brain, the frontal lobe, for what's called fantasies. And at first it's mild, but the longer the guy goes without, the more intense the fantasies get. So in the beginning, it's so cute, I want to kiss her. And then it escalates to kissing, and then it escalates to touching, then it escalates to other things, and you go around the bases. And apparently the bases have changed lately, as I saw in one particular movie or TV show. I can't remember which one now. Would have had to have been it could have been Wednesday. That's the only teen thing I think I've gotten recently. So it must have been on that the bases have changed. They didn't explain what the bases have been changed to, but I think first base is intercourse. I don't know. And so, the longer it goes, the more it would get. Now, I'm a different kind of guy. When I was a kid, I had fashion plates. I was interested in women's fashion. Plus, because of my experience with Beth, and I won't go over it because I'll end up crying, I have an emotional attachment to women, especially women who've been abused. And me being a guy, I want to be their knight in shining armor and protector, and I'm helpless, just like I was for Beth. And so thus the bond with such women, but women in general. I want to be with women, I want to hang out with women, I want to know what women are thinking. I want to do stuff with women. I want to have a best friend as women and participate in this slumber party with a pillow fight. I'd be the one with the camera. But yes, I'm a guy. And so when my signals are sent to the brain, we'll start off soft core and continue to get harder. And so as a kid, I am role-playing with the Fisher-Price people, if you remember what that toy was, and it was me and all of the females. No other males, just me and females. It wasn't for polygamy, though there was kissing involved, but it was only really with the one But we were best friends. That's how I was role-playing it as a kid. And so, for a wife, that's a religious thing. For me to be best friends with women and doing stuff with women all the time and staying in the same apartment like Three's Company, they're not married. And so I wouldn't be married in that particular case. But that's the lifestyle I would love to have, to be with women all the time, doing stuff with women, being with women. But being a guy and then being female, then yeah, then Harry Met Sally kicks in. There would have to be some way for me to satisfy my scientific, biological, sexual needs. And I'm guessing women too. I don't know. But women in that situation would treat me as in the friend zone. And they'd be going out with the big bad biker with tattoos and drugs and prostitution and gangs and to satisfy their monthly urge. When I'm right here. Oh, you're my friend. You're in the friend zone. I can't have sex with you. And so that's a bit abusive for a guy to encounter such rejection. But yeah, it's because of lack of sex ed. And so I'm concerned that this is what the church is going to force to be done. They're hoping that they can survive and establish the kingdom of Lucifer, but throughout the world, an extermination event, as even Isaiah talks about the men die in war, and so 7 women take a hold of one man and saying, we will eat our own bread and but let's take reproach. You know, we want to perpetuate the human race. And so if you saw the news when just not too long ago, Putin gave an announcement to the Russian women, as all men have been conscripted into the war against Ukraine. He's now telling women, hey, you need to start breeding. We need to build more Russians. Putin purposely caused that to get Russian women to have Russian babies. But the men are away to war or dead. And so Russia has different standards and values than Christian America, and even Mormon America, Mormon Utah. And so these women are supposed to have sex with any guy that's available left behind to get pregnant with them. That's what Putin was telling them to do. Russian women are raised from birth to be prostitutes, to be whores, to be honey traps, to be used by the government. So, yeah, that's why there's a lot of Russian girls on YouTube doing fashion try-ons. It's awesome. But, yeah, that's the Russian brides. There used to be catalogs in America of Russian brides. Buy your Russian bride. Those women were ripped from their homes and are being sold into sex slavery to Americans or anybody else around the world who would buy a Russian bride. And it's for the purpose of those women to be sleeper cells, because only rich people can afford to marry a Russian bride and bring her to their home country. And so they would have connections with business and government that the wife can then pretend to be dumb but gather information and become a Maria Butina, a Russian spy, as she infiltrated the NRA and got hooked up with government officials to hook up with Russian officials. And yeah, now she's the greatest Russian hero. That's what the whole operation was about. So, yeah, that's a sad situation. And so, yes, it would be awesome to have multiple women on top of me when I need to go. Yes, it would be awesome to hang out and socialize 24/7 with multiple women. But I have had 2 failures with just one. I do not want a 3rd strike. I just want one who works. And she needs to know sex ed. She needs to know how my body works. She needs to know how her body works. She can't be scared when she learns about how my body works. She has to know in advance of how my body works, so that she can be informed and make an informed choice to choose to be with me, knowing what is required, knowing that I know what is required for her, and that open communication, no fear of, oh no, I don't think we can talk about that, I don't think it's appropriate, we're married. Yeah, but that's sex stuff. It needs to be an ancient Chinese secret, feminine secrets. I need to keep it a secret from you. You can't know that I'm about to have my menstrual cycle for the month. No, I kind of need to know. So yeah, it just compounds the problems when people keep secrets from the other, and they don't have the adequate scientific education that's necessary for a happy, long-lasting marriage. Then you get Mormons who say, well, I don't want to be sealed for all eternity to my wife. I don't like her. I don't like him. My mom, she died not liking my dad. My dad didn't really care, but I saw him flirting with cashiers all my life when I'm at the store with him, because he ain't getting it from my mom. There is a reason. And so other women who are single and are getting hit on by a married man are offended. You have a wife. What are you doing flirting with me? You're cheating on your wife. And the single woman doesn't understand. She's not giving it to him. That's why he's flirting with you. If he was getting it every time he needed it, he would not have an interest in any other woman in the world, because he's getting it. Those 7 seconds in between time were normal human beings. And so, yeah. That was intended to be a completely separate video. It's somewhere in that pile too. But since Jasmine is rare, we're covering it. Alrighty. 1:45. Alrighty.